Veritas Acquitus by Bonesboy 15, Chapter 29, Broke, Bruised. Beacon Academy has some of the latest available worldwide technology within its walls, most of which, of course, focus primarily on keeping the test grim within their pens, or at least teachers with education educating their students. However, the really impressive thing that things went to the Academy's medical wing to assist with mending several broken bones or sealing gashes that were too deep for an individual's aura to heal. Medical technology in a huntsman's/huntress's academy was among the most expensive and most effective technology that existed on Remnant today. Of course, that technology is useless when it comes to keeping a ticking time bomb locked in a hospital room, Sasuke said under his breath as Haku finished reading a pamphlet for the school's medical ward. They, along with Kurama, who was currently checking them in for visitation, were here to check on their dumbass of a leader who went and got kidnapped by his perverted godfather after he went on an overnight date with his girlfriend. It was the real juicy speculation about why the godfather kidnapped him that spread so fast. Some believe that Jiraiya wanted a personal interview with the speculated new focus of an erotica series, a rumor that was started by the spiteful son for hitting on his date at the dance. Others were more prone to believe Kuruma's wild tale of some strange ritual to officially declare Naruto as a man in the eyes of Bakugo. Sasuke was rather irked with this rumor was even started, considering Bakugo didn't have a set religion or way, since it was the wastelands of the world. Kurama, on the other hand, thought it was a gas. The faunus in question strolled over to them with a small frown on his face. So, good news. The idiot's eternal systems are stable and he can be out of here by tomorrow at the latest. Kurama began. And the bad news? Sasuke asked. He had a bad feeling about this. The orderlies can't find him. How do you lose someone that's hopped up on painkillers? Haku asked. There was a beat of silence. He is hopped on painkillers, isn't he? Jiraiya said. Jiraiya says a lot of things. Kurama and Sasuke drew all together. They shared an annoyed look with one another. Don't do that. Quit it. Okay, now it's getting. Aha! Damn. Haku looked between his two teammates before he pinched the bridge of his nose. Guys, focus. Is Naruto on drugs? Yes, Kurama answered with a nod while Sasuke remained quiet. Are they painkillers? Nope. Then what is he on? Sasuke asked in Haku's stead, since the androgynous boy was too busy twitching in irritation. Some experimental sedative brought in by a Mistral Med student, Kurama shrugged. And why was this allowed? Haku and Sasuke asked. Kurama held the paper up and Sasuke snatched it. He scanned over the words written on it before his skin turned white. Warily, he looked up at the faunus, who nodded grimly. Would you like to share what it says with the class, Sasuke? Or are you and Kurama going to keep making eyes at each other? Haku asked. Well, you're in a mood. Why is that? God on your period? Kurama asked. Haku pulled his scroll out and pointed at the screen. An explanation point with a three-digit number beneath it was visible. There was an audible buzz before the three-digit number became a four-digit number. Our friends aren't allowed to leave the dorm, and they figured I would be most likely to keep them up to date. Haku mumbled. There was another buzz, and he hung his head. And Ruby doesn't realize that I need more than a second to respond. Another buzz, and Kurama smirked. Wow, she's tenacious. Maybe she likes the pretty ones, Sasuke said, a smirk aimed at Haku. Who allowed the experiment? Haku asked again. Sasuke and Kurama lost their amused smiles and grimaced. Tsunade Senju, they answered together. Haku's stern look immediately fell. Tsunade Senju, the slug princess known across Remnant for three things. She's one of the three teammates of the Toad Sage, and one of the two that were still alive. She's probably the most unlikely woman to come out of Akuo, and to top it off, she has unconditionally agreed to be the best healer in all of Akuo, maybe even all of Remnant. To get her approval on something experimental to be used on a student in Vacuo? Well, Haku summarized his thoughts on the situation simply. Oh, fuck. Exactly. Kurama nodded. He took the paper back, folded it up, and stuffed it into his pocket. The faunus gestured towards the hallway. Maybe we can find out what sort of drug it is from his chart in his room. Run for your lives! The scream was faint, but still loud, and was followed by an enraged female voice. Naruto! Kurama? Yes, Sasuke? Sasuke had a look of mild terror on his face. Was that who I thought it was? Probably Shanaro. There was a loud smack followed by a boom that shook the foundation. Definitely. Kurama amended his statement with a nod. Ah, well then. Sasuke promptly turned around and left the building. Haku blinked and looked at Kurama. Do I even want to? It was his ex. Ah, a beat. Should we follow? My instincts say yes, but my desire to not bring the wrath of the Femme Naruto down on me is greater. Kurama sighed. I was afraid you'd say that, and that makes you a wise man, Haku. A few hours ago, Naruto didn't know where he was. He wasn't even entirely sure who he was. Hell, he didn't even know how to tell whether one thing was one thing or if it was another thing. He did know one thing though. Whatever the hell was being fed into his body by the magical clear tube was awesome. Naruto felt like he could do whatever he want, and he was not afraid to tell the people that visited him such. I'm going to go to the fucking moon, he told the talking pink-headed howler monkey. That's nice, Naruto, the pink howler mumbled as she scrawled something onto a clipboard. Then I'm going to take some of the cheese off the moon and make it into a sandwich. Naruto threw her hand out. No, no, I'm gonna put it in ramen. Yeah. Then I'm gonna fill a crater with ramen and just damn man, look at my hand. All motiony and shit. Side effect of hallucination and broken speech. The pink howler mumbled again. You really got to see this. Holy shit! Wide dilated blue eyes locked on the pink howler and a finger pointed at her head. You've got pink hair. Vocal volume control. The pink howler sighed and scribbled something else down. I swear this is better not be a long-lasting side effect. Naruto fell asleep 20 minutes into his hallucination. He began to dream of mountains of valleys. He dreamt of an angel with beautiful golden hair and lilac eyes, giving him his wings. They were mild and delicious. Then, just as she was about to give him something else he'd really enjoy, his damned consciousness started to stir. He awoke to that feeling where he knew he was awake, but still want to leave the dream. It was an unpleasant awakening and a very embarrassing situation for the next nurse that came in. She was a meek thing, wide lavender eyes that stayed locked on his tent just long enough for her face to turn every possible shade of red before she bolted out of his room. Well, that was professional, Naruto thought to himself as he pulled the IV out of his arm and began to redress. Once his pants were back on, he paused and pursed his lips. That girl looked very familiar. Whatever. Naruto shrugged and pulled his complimentary white t-shirt on. He grabbed his coat and went to the door. Time to get checked out and then visit Yang. He grinned lightly. Maybe we'll play doctor. Once he pulled the door open, Naruto stared at a familiar pair of emerald eyes and shoulder-length pink hair. The girl who had the pink hair stood a head shorter than him and wore a white doctor's coat over a red vest, and she wore black shorts that held up a utility belt, as well as heeled sandals similar to Kurenai's. Naruto blinked. The girl blinked. Naruto beamed. Sakura! The girl frowned. Naruto, I thought you were Mr. with the old hag. Naruto, the girl Sakura grounded her teeth. You came to visit. You should have sent me a squirrel call so I could tell the others. Naruto looked away and scratched his cheek, especially Sasuke, so he could lay low. Naruto, Sakura finally snapped. What's up, Sakura? Naruto asked as he looked back at her. When he saw that her unfortunately disproportional forehead had overshadowed her eyes, he began to pale rapidly. Sakura, what's wrong? Are you mad? Please tell me what I did. Naruto, why aren't you in bed? Naruto pouted and began to twiddle his thumbs. Sakura, you know how I feel about hospitals. Naruto, you were checked in by Lord Jiraiya, and he asked Lady Tsunade to drop by and visit. Sakura frowned. You've been walking around with a chipped pelvis. Really, it's a miracle that you've been walking for so long with that fragment still in your hip. Well, that explains the excessive soreness, Naruto thought idly, as he wondered how it happened. His eyes glazed over and a dopey grin crossed his eyes. Naruto, hey, I'm talking to you. Sakura waved her hands in front of his face. Her eyes twitched. Seriously, Naruto, I'm taking Sasuke out to ramen, and you're not invited. You pink-haired howler monkey. Naruto snapped, making Sakura take a step back. Naruto blinked and clapped his hands over his mouth once he realized what he said. Oh dear, what I've done. Howler monkey? Sakura's eyes twitched, her hands clasped together, and her knuckles popped. Her eyes shone with malicious intent. Naruto, throwing logical thoughts out the window, Naruto fell upon the tried and true instincts that all beings had ingrained in them, primarily the flight or fight method response, and with his experience at how often isn't sarcasm wonderful? The fight response worked in the situation. Naruto resigned himself to the only other reaction that probably made the situation even worse. He slipped past the stunned girl and bolted for the nearest exit. Unfortunately, he went the wrong way. and Sakura soon began to chase after him. Thus, we are brought to the present. Get out of my way, get out of my way, get out of my way! Naruto shouted frantically as he jumped over patients, pushed past nurses and doctors, and bowled over everyone else. In the back of his mind, he wondered why the school's medical facility was so full. Then he remembered that there were three additional schools on campus, and a lot of fights could have broken out or spars that took bad turns. They were training to be defenders after all, so there was always a chance for injuries. All the while, as these thoughts were going through Naruto's head, he's running for his life from the she-devil that was Sakura Haruno. The pink-haired girl was checking her fellow doctors into walls and knocking nurses to the ground. She was surprisingly agile when a patient was in view, though. What Naruto really noticed, though, was that she was gaining on him. Geez, it's like Ruby's speed. Curse you, righteous female fury. You screw me on every you screw me over yet again. Naruto thought with an angry glare up at the sky. When his eyes came back down, he noticed a group of students, one in a wheelchair with a cast on his leg in his way, with Sakura hot on his heels, and the last turn a good 3 seconds away. Naruto did the only thing he could. Run for your lives! He shouted as loud as he was able, which was surprisingly loud for a guy who screamed himself hoarse the day before. Like a group of terrified deer, the students rose. Without another word, Naruto already warned them, and probably the rest of Vel. Naruto let his semblance burn to life and moved to the side of the wall. He barreled through like a truck, knocking pipes, wires, and concrete out of his way as he cut through to another part of the hospital. Naruto! Unfortunately, Sakura followed his path. Naruto shrieked in fear. He was man enough to admit that his balls had retracted for a good second or two. She wasn't slowed in the slightest, and frowned and from the corner of Naruto's eyes, her right fist looked like it was glowing bright green. Then there was a sudden lack of air, and Naruto flipped onto his back, slided down the floor to the end of the hall. With a groan, a blue eye cracked open and stared up at two very annoyed brown eyes that glared down at him. The owner of the eyes had a small purple diamond in the center of her forehead and pale blonde hair that flowed down her back. She wore a greenish-gray kimono top underneath a white doctor's coat, both of which did little to conceal her very impressive cleavage, and black slacks that ended at the ankle, revealing her heeled sandals. Overall, she looked to be in her mid-30s, but in reality, she was nearing her mid-50s. Granny, why? Naruto wheezed out as his semblance dwindled away. I just got you out of surgery to remove bone fragments from your body. Do you know how annoying it was to learn you were in the hospital again, brat? The woman asked with a hard glare. She lifted a hand up to her nose and pinched it, releasing a sigh. You know what? Just take your medicine. Naruto grimaced as the woman stepped out of the way and revealed a very upset Sakura. The pink-haired girl cracked her glowing green knuckles and scowled down at the blonde. Mercy! Sakura grabbed Naruto by the collar and lifted him up off the ground and into the air with one hand. The other pulled back, and Naruto cringed prematurely when it flew. A beat passed, and he peeked open one eye. Sakura's face was a centimeter away from his face. Sakura pulled it away and smirked at him as she lowered him onto the floor, making Naruto blink. He then slowly grinned and interlaced his hands behind his head. You just pranked me, Naruto chuckled. Wow, that was a good, Shanaro! Naruto didn't even have time to comprehend the shout before he found himself flying back down the hall. Then he went through the wall at the end, past a very steamy scene between a doctor and a nurse. He'd have to find out what the hell that was about later. Before he landed on the ground outside of the medical ward, distantly he heard someone scream, New record! Oh hell, Naruto, why'd you have to piss her off? A very annoyed grumble came from beneath the rubble beside him. Screw you, Sasuke. Damn, Kurama, you sure grew up, Sakura mused as she looked up at the fondness that was partnered with her ex and one of her two best friends. You used to be my height when the growth spurt kick in. About a week after you left for med school, Kurama shrugged. He looked down at his annoyed partner, who had his arm in a sling from a bad dislocation that needed at least a day to heal, and smirked. Surprised him too. Screw you, Otsutsuki. Sasuke grumbled lowly, keeping his head down and his gaze averted from his ex-girlfriend. They didn't part on the best of terms, so this was extremely awkward for him. I'm sure Velvet wouldn't appreciate that, Haku chuckled as he secretly sent a picture of Naruto's grinning face to Yang to appease her and her team's barrage of questions. He was sure to get a shot of the good side of Naruto's face, which did not have a giant bruise on it. Velvet? Sakura asked, emerald eyes gleaming as they turned to Kurama. You have one girlfriend? Wow, miracles do happen. You managed to keep it in your pants longer than I thought you would. Did you just call me a slut? Kurama asked in mock offense. You did jump from girl to girl rather quickly, Naruto added while he pressed the ice pack against the right side of his face. He began to whistle innocently when Kurama sent him a dark look. This means war, Kurama vowed. He looked back at Sakura and smirked. Naruto had a girlfriend for the first 8 months after he got back from his journey with Jiraiya. Oh, you dick. Naruto grimaced as Sakura turned towards him with a new gleam in her eyes. You had a secret girlfriend? You? Oh, Sakura, my feelings. Naruto pouted, looking like a sad kitten as he did. Kurama snapped a photo with his scroll and sent it off to Yang, along with the caption of, he misses you so much. And so it begins, Kurama thought with a grin as he got revenge on both Naruto and Haku. He felt his tail swish mischievously, now to add fuel to the fire. He did. I met her, Kurama added. Pretty too, almost as pretty as his current girlfriend. Oh my god, I have to go tell Ino. Sakura rushed out of the hospital room. A beat passed before she poked her head back in and glared at Naruto. Don't run away. Naruto cringed and nodded somberly. Sakura beamed and pulled her head back out as she shut the door. There was a sharp crack and Naruto glared at Sasuke, who made a whipping gesture. At least Yang let me carry my balls. Sakura still has yours, Naruto hissed. You fucker, Sasuke scowled. Kurama, why am I getting cussed out by Yang? Haku asked dryly. He pulled a bit at the last sent message. He didn't even want to know how a knee could bend that way. The fauna smirked and his tail swished. Think next time before you tell a girl I know about Velvet, Haku. The door burst open again, and Sakura held her scroll out to Naruto. Ino wants to grill you. Naruto grimaced and waved his free hand frantically. The scroll was tossed over to him, and, with a betrayed whimper, he lifted the scroll up to his ear. Details! I want to know everything! Naruto winced and pulled the scroll away from his head. At the shriek, he sent Sakura and his teammates a dirty look before he brought the scroll back to his ear. Hello to you too, Ino Pig. If I wasn't flying to my next gig, Uzumaki, I'd kick you in the nuts. You've been saying that since we were 10. Naruto rolled his eyes. Enough chit-chat. Details. New girl. What's she like? Is she a redhead? Please tell me. Please tell me it's a redhead. Ino pleaded. The whiskered blonde groaned and flopped back in his bed. Why does everyone keep saying that? I like red hair, not red heads. Wow, seriously, it's not a redhead. Does she have long dark hair? Is it the princess of your dreams? She's a golden blonde, Give me that. Kurama snatched the scroll and said it to speaker. It's Kurama. Oh, hey Foxy, still thinking about my offer? Offer? Oh yeah, never mind. You're on speaker, So, offer spreads to your teammates too. Naruto, Sasuke, how'd you like to be my groupies? Come on, 3 of you and 1 little old me. Do good and I'll dump you up, I'll bump you up to security guards with benefits. Naruto and Sasuke's eyes rose up to the top of their heads. Sakura shook her head and Haku laughed. Kurama rubbed his eyes inside. Focus. Naruto's girlfriend. She can come too. I don't mind. What's she like? She's basically a female Naruto. Sasuke, Haku, and Kurama drawled. Sakura paled rapidly, and Naruto scowled. Yang was more than just the female version of him, damn it. Oh god, have they reproduced yet? Thankfully no, Sasuke said, but they have started to try, Kurama added. Oh man, does that mean Naruto's V-card was stolen by some blonde bimbo? You are a blonde bimbo. Naruto, Sasuke, Kurama, and Sakura drawled. Which makes it okay for me to say it, duh. Scoffed through the scroll. So, did she? No. That was stolen by Naruto's ex, Sakura answered. Naruto has an ex? Damn boy, you move fast. You've been gone, what, 6, 7 months? That's about right, Haku nodded. Oh, who was that? That was a sexy voice. That's Haku, he's a pretty boy. Like girly pretty, not Sasuke pretty, Naruto answered, smirking at his rival who glared back at him. Send me a pic later. But anyway, back to the ex details. When did you two meet, Naruto? A few months after I got back from my trip with Jiraiya, Naruto mumbled sheepishly. We dated for the rest of the school year. Damn it, really? See, Sakura, I told you I should have asked him out. Would have had a fine tanned ass to hold onto for a while instead of Sai's pasty butt. How is Sai? Sakura asked. And baked out of his mind, it makes for interesting art, but damn, does it affect his sex life? Back to the ex, what's she like? Got a desert thief princess vibe to her, Kurama answered. He set the scroll down and crossed his arms over his chest as he growled. And she's hanging out with a douchebag and some slippery bitch. Can't get a read on them. Ooh, a bad girl. Naruto, you dog. Oh shit, we're landing. Gotta get off my scroll before the pilot flips his lid again. Nice talking to you all. See you at the festival, boys. And you, Sakura, call me later with more details. Bye, Team Nox chores. Talk to you later, pig. Sakura added playfully. See you, Billboard Brow. The call ended there. Then another scroll began to ring. Eyes turned to Haku, who pulled his scroll out. He smiled and held the phone out to Naruto. The image on the screen was that of a grinning lilac-eyed blonde who had her arms around an out-of-screen blue-eyed blonde from way back when Team Ruby, Juniper, and Nox first began to hang out at the beginning of the semester. Naruto, it's for you. I fucking hate you, Haku. Oh my god, your face is all gross and beat up, Ruby exclaimed as soon as Naruto walked into the dorm rec room. A rather large purple bruise covered the right side of his face. It started at the bottom of his eye, rode down his cheek, and ended 3/4 of an inch from his jawline. His right eye was squinted slightly, and if one looked closely, the bruise was slowly receding. Yeah, because I love hearing that after my childhood girlfriend knocked me the fuck out with one hit. Naruto mumbled sourly while he made his way over to the love seat where his girlfriend sat. He sat down beside her and let his arm fall behind Yang's side of the couch. As soon as he was comfortable, Yang leaned against him and rested her head on his shoulder. Poor baby, poor big baby. Did the mean girl beat you up? She cooed playfully, a teasing gleam in her eye. Yes, Naruto groaned. They discussed the terms of his punishment for A, not immediately calling her once he was sobered up and conscious in the medical ward, and B, not telling of his other childhood friend for offering him what were implied to be sexual favors. For the next 2 weeks, Naruto was essentially Yang's slave, body pillow, and verbal punching bag. Basically, his leash was shortened to less than a foot long. Would you like a kiss to make it better? Yang asked. Yes, please, Naruto pleaded with a small pout. Please what? The blonde grinned. Please. Naruto hesitated and sent a glance Ruby's way, actually a little bit sorry for what he had to say next. Honey boobs. Good boy, Yang mused before she rewarded her boyfriend with a gentle kiss on the lips. Ruby gagged while the rest of their teams rolled their eyes. Ew, that's so gross. Ruby stuck her tongue out in disgust. Grow some thicker skin, Ruby. You're going to see that in the real world. Kurama nudged the girl. She looked at him with a pout and he grimaced. With a heavy sigh, Kurama then held up a new weapon catalog he purchased with the limited freedom he had while his team leader was checking out of the medical ward. Here, now stop pouting. Whoa, a diamond cast slug barrel axe made out of backyard supplies? Ruby dove into the magazine and walked over to a couch while Kurama shook his head and went to the recliner he usually claimed. Haku and Sasuke exchanged a look before they raced for the big screen to play a game, whilst Weiss and Blake went back to their respective books. So, Yang broke the silence but remained lying on her personal body pillow. Good news from one of my old signal friends. The lockdown is ending soon. And the bad news? Naruto asked. Well, it's not bad news for Ruby, but for you guys, Yang trailed off. And the bad news? Naruto insisted. Some of Signal's students are coming to interview the older students of Atlas, Beacon, Shade, and Haven. How is that bad news for us? Weiss asked. She smiled at Ruby. Maybe we'll get to meet some of your friends and get some insight on how you acted at your starter. Huh, yeah, sure. Sounds like a good, thoroughly designed Weiss. Well, the chaperone is our dad, Yang said. Naruto suddenly shivered and looked around. Anyone else feel that? Feel what? Sasuke asked, half distracted. Like a draft or something just blew through here, Naruto mumbled. He adjusted himself in his seat and looked very confused. In the end, he shrugged it off. He was probably just being paranoid. End of chapter 29.